Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Night of the Podcast.
Troy, if I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a fucking cake. And I would have then sat down here with you and I would have eaten it like a glutton, staring into the camera, looking at your face. Because after watching the film that I would recently watch, actually watched multiple times because over the period of multiple weeks, because it's been a drawn out period of time since we've gotten to sit down and actually talk about it. There's one thing this movie makes me want. It is a fucking white ice frosted cake, decadent cake, so I could eat it with you. I would give you a piece of it. I would eat the rest of it. But reasons to eat cake.
And we would be oblivious to anything going on behind us. We would just be piling that cake in, laughing at whatever the fucking they were watching on TV, unaware that our child is hanging out the window, but right behind us. But hey.
And never addressed again, mind you. Like never, they don't ever come back to it. We'll talk about it. But Troy and I would gladly cameo appearance in a remake of this film we're going to discuss. We would gladly cameo appearance as the gay parents. I think how very progressive. This time around, we were doing two gay men eating a coconut frosted cake with just smiles on their faces. I want to know what they were watching because they're cracking up. Just like I'm cracking up. Just getting to sit here with you, Troy. It has been a couple weeks, but for good reason that you and I have at least been apart on here on the podcast. I was lucky enough to be in your physical presence, touched by your body in person a few weeks ago. So though there has been a gap in the podcast, listeners, thank you for giving us a moment to step away. I know we gave you that short little blip of an episode the other day explaining why, but we're back in full force. But I do want to say for those of you who did not care to listen to that episode, that Troy did come to Cleveland to visit me, and it was just a time. And Troy, thank you so much for making time for me. I always appreciate you. That was so wonderful of you.
I loved it. I had a blast. Getting to see you in person is always a joy because it's a rarity. We probably see each other maybe, for sure once a year, if we're lucky twice. Yeah. But because we have another in-person meeting coming up here real quick in August with the Houston Horror Film Festival that I am super excited about as we barrel towards the deadline and notification for the films that have been submitted. So many great films, so many great filmmakers. I always say that horror is not dead. It really isn't. It's just in the hands of a lot of really talented indie filmmakers who need to get their stuff seen. And I feel blessed to be able to watch everything that is submitted to us. So that is exciting. Not as exciting. My God, Roger, we have been just chomping at the bits to get to this film. Even when I was in Cleveland, all we could talk about was this film and that mother at the beginning. This is an obscure one. Although I think your diehard 80s slasher fans will be familiar with this film. It really came out at the very late tail end of the 80s. This is 1989, although it looks and feels much earlier than 89, I will dare say. But I mentioned this when I announced this title. I've said many times on the podcast about going to video stores on Fridays and Saturday nights with my mom as a little kid and being able to gaze at all of the VHS horror box art that was staring back at me. And this one always just kind of disturbed me. And I was always really scared to rent this film because the VHS cover, just the ominous hands holding that bloody birthday box with blood dripping out of it. And then the tagline, remember him before he dismembers you. Which is great, but as a little kid, that just I couldn't even fathom what the film was going to show me. And when I finally got around to watching it, if there's anything to sum this film up, it is this film wants to be Halloween so bad.
Oh my God. Oh my god! Like you set it up for me that this was going to be a Halloween ripoff. Like you told me, but there are so many ripoffs of so many films. Like you hear that and you're like, okay, well, I mean, what film isn't? What movie isn't? What slasher movie isn't in some way a ripoff of Halloween these days? You know, I was not prepared. I was not prepared for just how blatant, how just shockingly like ripping the scenes from the movie and putting them in this film and giving it a little bit of a change up, but for the most part, like really completely recreating key moments from Halloween and Halloween 2. I mean, and even there's even a couple moments that felt very Black Christmas. I mean, there are several moments in this film where you can tell the exact bit that they were replicating down to the specific shots that you see, and I was just not prepared for it. And in some ways, it was truly jarring, but in other ways, like there's this weird endearing element to this film. Like it is clear, it is so clear that this movie is an indie production. I am talking. Was this shot on VHS, Troy? It sure fucking looks like it.
It looks like it, right? I'm not 100% sure. There's not a lot of like trivia or background available for this film. If you go to IMDb, the trivia section is blank. So I'm not sure. Like I said, it certainly looks like it because this does not look like 1989. This looks much earlier.
Oh, it's the film quality. Unless they do like a restoration of this film, you know, this really, I mean, this thing looks gritty, gritty, gritty. And I what I watched was on YouTube. I'm sure there may be a clearer, cleaner version out there, but this thing really needs a full restoration because I need to see like what they were working with. Because to me, it does look like this was a very shoestring production, but capably executed for what they had. The thing is we have seen other crappy movies that are significantly less capable in what they're trying to achieve is my thing here. There are several moments where this film actually does draw me in a little bit. There are some moments where this film actually started to develop a sense of mood and felt kind of ominous. And that is something I also wasn't expecting or prepared for as I started watching this movie. When this movie starts to get its stride, it's actually kind of good. What do you think about that?
I think this film is quite charming. If you can put aside the blatant Halloween influence, quote unquote, right down to the fucking score that I'm surprised they did not get sued for because there's certain elements of the Halloween score that are replicated for this film. But this film is charming. This film is part of like a whole slew of what I would call like regional horror films, particularly from Oklahoma that came out during the 80s. And they're all the same type of quality, but because they are made with you can tell these were just a bunch of people that wanted to make a movie and got together and did it, and boy are we familiar with that, right? But there's a whole slew of
Right.
these 80s slashers that came out of Oklahoma from the 80s. This was filmed in Oklahoma. You have Terror at 10 Killer, you have Blood Cult, you have Blood Lake, all of these regional horror films that I find super charming. So even though the film like did not live up to my expectations that it was going to like do something groundbreaking for me as a kid because of the cover art, which was replicated for the film The Gift with Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton. If you look at that box art, you can totally tell that they had seen this one. It's virtually the same. But I find this film charming, and I do find actually, you know, we sit there and say it's a Halloween ripoff, which it is, but this film also does some of its own things. I think that there's some really effective things going on in this film when it does hit its own stride and tries to do its own thing.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. I'm excited to discuss it. I think it's often the obscure ones, Troy, that I think we really hit our stride. So I think this is going to be a really fun conversation. I am going to say, like right now, since it's obscure, if you haven't watched it, I would definitely watch the film before you listen to this, because I think this will be a rare situation for a lot of listeners who probably haven't seen this like me. I have never seen this movie up to this point. I do think it should be experienced before you listen to this episode specifically. So definitely make it a point to seek it out and give it a viewing.
Yeah, we are talking 1989's Offerings, which, Roger, coincidentally, you said you would like to see a cleaned up version. There is a Blu-ray. This was released on Blu-ray. I've not seen the Blu-ray version, so I don't know how cleaned up it is. Something tells me it has to look better than what's on YouTube, because the YouTube one is, let's put it out there, grainy. This also used to be like on Tubi, so I'm wondering if that version looked any better. For some reason, it's off Tubi now. So, yeah, we're talking 1989's Offerings, a very late entry into the 80s slasher annals. And the film, I mean, it starts with a bang. The opening credits kind of caught me off guard because they're a little bit stylish. There's flames, fire, which does not fit the film because it's literally there's no fire in the film. These opening credits were much more suitable for something like The Burning, but then you get the hard transition into that rough looking mug cooking over that damn frying pan. Roger, what do you think of this broad?
What an icon. This woman, I mean, what I strive to be. This is a role for me. If someone out there is looking to cast a woman in this vein, please consider me. Because I'll give you a hell of a performance. This gal's living a hard life. She is not happy. And I mean, understandable, because those opening credits, that paint shop title sequence, that pitchy music, I would be like, oh, well, here we go. If I was her and I knew I was in this film, I'd be like, oh boy. But it picks up steam. And you know, we certainly don't get enough with her. We certainly do not get enough with this woman, because she sets me up hoping she's going to be the final girl. She's not. She's only in this scene, but she clearly does not love her child. I mean, like, she is a miserable wretch of a woman.
I mean, she's hard. She's smoking. There's a moment she flicks her ashes purposely into this poor kid's scrambled eggs. And let's talk about this kid who appears in the doorway. Her creepy son, who's apparently he can't talk, and she's yelling at him, "Get in the dining room!" And she sits down next to him at the breakfast table and calls him a little monster. What have you been up to, you little monster? And then proceeds to berate him for how stupid he is because he can't talk, and she can't believe that his teacher called to tell her that he did really well on some intelligence tests. And she's like, "Oh, they're full of shit. What kid that can't talk is smart? You're just a little devil. And I saw what you did to your pets. I saw what you did to your turtle."
This woman looks like the woman from the iconic, truly iconic episode of Wife Swap, featuring one Marguerite Perrin, who is known as the she knows when she had that line, she's not Christian, like, you know, the woman I'm talking about.
The Jesus Warrior.
For that line. She was
Jesus Warrior.
The Jesus Warrior. That's what she was known about. Yes,
yeah.
Jesus Warrior. That she looks identical to this woman, and I was like, holy shit, is that Marguerite Perrin? But it's not.
Can you imagine?
But she definitely gives those hard vibes, and she is really being mean to this kid. But it's established that this child is killing turtles, and that's like, it's a loose note that's thrown out there. Really, you don't get a lot of explanation for what this kid is technically dealing with. There's a lot of things going on with this individual, and I really can't put my finger on what it's supposed to represent. Part of it, he's not mute, but he's very, I guess, I mean, there's like definitely like a social issue that he has just with interacting with people. But then he also has murderous tendencies. And again, we're talking lightly skimmed over that this kid has murderous tendencies. But then also, is it not introduced eventually that this child also is immune to pain? Is that what I'm understanding is part of his allure?
There's a whole, we have to put that on the back burner because there's a whole slew of things I don't understand about how he,
with the well.
Yes. And how he ends up looking as an adult because he fell into a well. It makes no fucking sense. But we do find out a lot. Like, apparently the mother was abused by the husband. So I guess we can maybe infer that this kid's dad was abusive to him, and that's why he is the way he is, because the mother screams. She's like, "Is this what you're going to do to your wife?" And she points to the scar on her neck. And it looks like she's about ready to attack him when the doorbell rings. And we get this little cherub, Roger, at the door. Little blonde
dumpling-faced cherub.
Little blonde Gretchen, who, for some reason, it's never explained. I guess it's just that she's a nice gal. She is this poor kid's only friend. And she wants him to come out and play, even though he doesn't talk. He doesn't even talk to her. And this kid his name's John Radley.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
simple name for a simple kid.
Yeah. So the mother is like, he can't come out. He doesn't feel well. But then he's in the doorway, like waving, acting like he wants to come outside. So she's like, "Oh, look, Miss Radley, he wants to come out." So she lets him outside. The two go play checkers, as you do. And in the middle of the game, you get a whole slew of these little fucking assholes. What a horrible bunch of children. Horrible children. They see that Gretchen's playing with this kid and they're like, "Oh, there's Gretchen and the weirdo. Let's go." And they proceed to ride their bikes and just verbally attack this kid, call him all kinds of names. They tell him he's a pussy and that he probably's never walked the well, which is apparently a thing. There's a well conveniently located in this neighborhood that they proceed to go to, and John Radley climbs up on the well and walks around it as the kids are like cheering. That one's like, "Oh, he's dead meat." And what ends up happening is, because every good slasher film has to start with a prank gone wrong, right? We've seen it numerous times. It's one of the kids startles John and he falls into the well. And they all take off except Gretchen, who's there screaming, "Help me, help me," as little John Radley is at the bottom of this well.
I have questions about the well itself. I want to know how deep the well is. I want to know the severity of injury. I'm guessing he fell on his head. I wish in a way that cherubic Gretchen would have just maintained being the focal character. Like, I wouldn't have minded watching that adorable little giblet of a child going up against this guy. But no, she does age, and oh, does she age. But as a child, she is delightful and sweet, and when the kids are being mean to John, she's like, "Leave him alone." Like, she's got his back. And it is, for as cheap and amateur as it all looks, the establishment of their relationship is endearing. I like her relationship with him, and I do wish that it's something that had a chance to be explored more. It isn't really all that much. I mean, it definitely has heavy undercurrents in how it affects the story, but like, you don't see a lot of them together until the finale after this. But it is something I wish her character had a chance to just explore more, how this event affected her, because it seems pretty traumatic. And I mean, that kid's in that well, so they get him out somehow, but those little punks, like, I don't think anyone gets in trouble for it. It sounds like we do a time jump where it makes it sound like those kids really didn't have to deal with what they did to this kid, but he's sure fucking affected by it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to jump forward a little bit because you said it must have affected her. I don't think it did, Roger, because as we do the time jump, we find out she is friends with all these kids. And in fact, she's dating one of them, which I could not understand. Why have this opening where she's like John's protector, and she obviously, these kids she doesn't really care for, and she recognizes that they're mean bullies and she's trying to protect John from them. But then you jump forward and they're all in a clique and she's like fucking one of them. The main little boy, I'm assuming the one that pushed John in the well, is the one she's dating. It doesn't make sense. And then are we supposed to believe that it's like, "I know what you did last summer"? They all made a pact and she just went along with not telling anybody that John fell down. They pushed John down the well. Put that on the slate of things that don't make sense. On top of, we cut to 10 years later, we see John in the hospital, and Roger, he looks like a burn victim. Like, what happened to his face? How did falling in a well burn his face?
I thought this was a different man. I thought like I was getting confused because when it comes up on the sequence with this poor guy, I don't know, maybe the well was full of acid. Like that's I guess that's what we're gonna go with because it does not make any sense. I'm guessing he had to land on his head. He clearly has some head trauma. Atop already issues he had, whatever they may be. There's now additional trauma and anger of after having been pushed into a well. But he's just like in a constant vegetable state. And yeah, I was like, who is this guy? Is it the same guy? I don't think so. It is, though. It is. And this poor fucking nurse, this sweet, sweet nurse, this poor woman, like, at least we get the ball rolling pretty quick. But this whole setup, as soon as you come into this hospital, it's pretty clear what they're trying to do here. And this is now their little hat tip to Halloween 2. You don't stay in the hospital for too long, but what you get out of the hospital, oh boy. I mean, it is again shocking how much this feels like Halloween 2. The costumes, the dialogue, the way people are handling themselves, the way it's framed, and a very specific shot that's going to come up here in a moment that I can't believe they had the balls to execute a shot that looks so similar to something that was filmed in a movie that they're clearly taking inspiration from. It was just, it kind of blew me away, and not in a good way.
No, instead of Smith's Grove, we get Oakhurst State Hospital. And yes, this poor, lovely nurse, Jackie, her name's Jackie. It's her first day on the job. And they are in the room with this John, and he's laying on a gurney sedated. And we find out that they basically just keep him sedated. Like every hour, they need to give him his shot so that he stays sedated and he doesn't wake up. Because, as the doctor tells her, you don't have to be afraid of him when he's sedated, but I would keep him sedated because this one, he basically, we find out, killed his mother and ate her. Where'd that come? How did he get out of the well? Did he crawl out of the well and go back home and eat her? I don't know, but it's a revelation.
Something happened. Something happened in the writing process here that like something changed and they didn't catch it. Because Troy, you're not going to casually throw out to me that the mother was eaten. When? He's clearly been in a vegetable state this whole time from falling in the well. Unless there was a brief moment in which he came out of the well, was okay, went home, ate his
Can you imagine?
Ate his mother.
Buttering that broad up.
And she's knocking cigarettes into his eggs, and then he just cooks her up in them. Oh my God. You're not, but like, it doesn't make sense. So I guess what I am supposed to believe is there was at one point post head injury that he was not in a vegetable state, and then he ate his mother, and now they have to sedate him for having eaten the mother. But I'm saying, oh boy, did they miss out on giving me quite a visual. The fact that they would tell me he ate his mother and not show me a fucking nibble, not show me a single bit of that woman getting eaten, like that alone for me is reason to get up and walk out of the theater. But I'm going to stick through it. But I was pissed off. I'm like, you're throwing that out there casually and not showing me any of it? That's cruel.
Oh, I know. And yeah, so he's been in this hospital 10 years. And has just been sedated. This other nurse comes in and tells the doctor she needs to see him because one of the patients is having a fit. So he leaves and tells her he'll try to be back, but if he's not back by quarter till, she needs to give him his sedation. So he just leaves this poor Jackie alone with this man with the instructions to sedate him. There's that moment in the hallway. Did you see that little man try to sneak into the room and that orderly has to, what are you doing? And the little man's like, oh, I wanted this whole backstory with this little man, this little like 3-foot man trying to sneak into other patients' rooms.
There is no way that they wrote this character in with just the intention of making this a one-off scene. Like if you're going to bring this guy in there, you are telling me that you're going to have this kind of like standout character and only have him for like a flicker of a moment. There has to be something else that was thrown on the cutting room floor. I am shocked. I need to know so much more about this guy. Like, I mean, what's the backstory here? Who is this man? I'm guessing this is just somebody else in the hospital, another patient, but like it's such a specific moment. And his dialogue is dubbed over like in a very weird way. I don't know. It was such a random moment. I was seriously expecting that this would come back in as a shtick or something.
No, well, I do notice that this film, one thing this film does a lot is introduce really odd, quirky characters. This
Yeah.
film is full of them, as we'll get to as we go through it. But the doctor doesn't come back in time, so poor Jackie has to prepare to sedate John Radley, and as she goes to approach him, he grabs her by the neck. I mean, I don't just grabs her by the neck. And this is, I believe, the shot from Halloween 2 that you're referencing, because he picks her up off the floor and shoves that fucking needle into her head. And then proceeds to like bend down and pull it. So we see like brain fluid coming into the syringe, which I thought was actually a nice touch. Makes it a little bit more brutal. But yes, this is absolutely Halloween 2 to the max.
It is wild. It is wild. It feels like they added that little bit in there earlier in an attempt to maybe distract from it. And you're so right. There's certain characters in this film that almost feel like they're in a totally different movie. And so it is very strange. They have this kind of desire to meander at times that I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing. I think a lot of the quirky characters are actually interesting. I'm just mad that they're not more thoroughly explored or explained, such as we're about to meet the parents of Gretchen now that she's grown up. That's gonna be coming up soon. And these two fucking weirdos, like this mother is she's a parrot. But like, if you're going to give me such like a big, bold character choice, you've got to give me a little more time with that character. You've got to give me a little bit more of an experience with them. And all these feel just so fleeting, you know? And so I think it's kind of a wasted opportunity here to have made the movie feel a little more stand apart. They should have let these little moments that feel so different like thrive a little bit more, like grow a little bit more, develop a little bit more, because I think that is a missed opportunity with this film. It had a hint of personality to it and they didn't explore it enough.
I would agree. Like I said, I think the film actually, when it tries to do its own thing, it actually becomes really interesting. And like I said, some of the choices the film makes when it goes against the Halloween blueprint are quite entertaining and quite intriguing. But one thing, he's after he kills this poor nurse on her first day, he's out of there. Like he just literally just walks out of the hospital, and then we get the first glimpse of him being immune to any sort of pain because he climbs an electric fence and he grabs the fence and it sparks, so it electrocuted him. And he has zero reaction. So did the fall down the well cause him to lose all sense of pain, or what's going on here?
This is a baffling choice, but I don't totally hate it. There's something I enjoy this moment of him coming out and like the lights are flashing and he scales the fence and they're sparking and it's cool. It's cool and it is like something that in a way it sets him apart from Michael Myers, but it's still like Michael Myers' superpower was basically pretty much the same thing. They just don't discuss the inability to feel pain as much. They make it a little bit more of a thing here, but just a little bit. The only reason I really even knew that was when I looked at the Wikipedia and I was like, okay, that's where they're trying to go with this. I do wish it was explained a little bit more, but it's touched on. It's just his character. I think one of the issues is like they're trying so hard to make him Michael Myers just in short summer sleeves. Because of that, like I don't really know anything about this guy's personality. There virtually is none. There is really no personality for this guy. And his backstory is just all over the place. So it's really kind of hard to pinpoint exactly like what's going on, what's the motivation here.
Well, Roger, apparently you weren't paying attention to the next scene, the lecture from the Professor Loomis. I mean, whatever this guy's name, and he's obviously the Sam Loomis character to a T. But he was John Radley's doctor, but now he's teaching a class, and literally, if you listen to his lecture about what he's talking about, because apparently he teaches like sociology or some psychology, I'm assuming. But he goes into this whole thing about brain and how some people, if their brain was damaged as a child, if a certain part of their brain was damaged as a child by some traumatic injury, hint, falling down a well, then it will cause them to have violent tendencies and also cause them to be homicidal, but in their mind justify it. Like they take it out on people that they think deserve it, hence people that pushed them down the well, and that they have no remorse and that they think they're actually doing something good. I mean, you get the entire motivation and what's driving John Radley right here through this very direct lecture. I mean, spoon feeding the audience this information about what's taking place here.
Yeah, I think more for me is like when I say that there's a lot of things going on here, it's like he is clearly vengeful. He's also crazy. He's also immune to pain. He's also a cannibal. Like, I mean, there is nothing about this character that he's not. So, like, yes, his backstory is very clear that he's out for vengeance, but also like he's a superhero, which I guess like what slasher villain isn't. But this one is just kind of sloppy about it, and that's my gripe about how he's handled.
I hear you. He also apparently works at a pizzeria because he can make pizzas, as we find out here later, which is that's a whole new topic of confusion right there. But so he ends his lecture and the sheriff comes in because we got to have a sheriff bracket, right? The sheriff comes in and tells the professor that John Radley has escaped. And I swear to God, the exact same dialogue from Halloween when Dr. Loomis says, "Do you think he could come back to this town? Is he on his way back?" Well, of course he's on his way back because it's a fucking slasher movie. And here we launch into Gretchen. Is she is she supposed to be in high school or are they college students now? I was a little confused.
It's very vague. It's very vague, and boy, with a lackluster intro to Gretchen. I do want to acknowledge this whole bit with the professor, even though it is pretty much verbatim hitting all of the keynotes of Halloween. Absolutely true. Little things I did note here. Acting isn't always horrible. Like the professor is actually pretty okay. The sheriff, at first he's like bumbling. He looks like fucking JD Vance. But as the movie goes on, even he kind of gets his footing. And even though this is a very small budget production, if you watch this whole sequence in this auditorium, there's beautiful slider shots. They're doing things with the projections on the walls, the way they're framing the shots. And it's not like someone just set up a camera and turned it on and was like, go through the dialogue, one shot wonder, and we're done. There's actual artistry to what they're doing within their means here. So I want to shout that out. Gretchen. Oh, um, where do I begin? The lipstick. Frosted pink lipstick. Where do I really start with Gretchen here? Lots of really weird choices being made from her appearance. I mean, she is, in a lot of ways they want her to be Laurie Strode, but in other ways I think they tried to make her drastically different from Laurie Strode because of that. And including her personality. She is not Laurie Strode at all. She's kind of a bitch. She's kind of harsh to listen to. She's got a southern drawl, which I'm here for. Name me another final girl with a banging southern drawl. I mean, there's a few of them, but overall, they were hard to come by, especially this southern belle. I mean, she's a weird, unique character, and she's the last thing I would expect out of a final girl. And oftentimes she annoys the fuck out of me, but honestly, when the movie concludes, I'm just going to kind of wrap up my thought on her now so you know how I feel about her going into this. I don't hate her as much as I really thought I was going to. I don't. She's weird and obnoxious and makes a lot of strange choices, and she's kind of unpleasant. But like when push comes to shove, she is not the weakest damsel we've run into so far. And so even with Gretchen, I'm going to pick her apart. I really am. I'm going to give her a rough time with some of these performance choices she makes, but I don't totally fucking hate her. I don't.
For me, she's just kind of there. She's bland. There's really nothing particularly memorable about her. I will say, as we come to the conclusion of the film, she doesn't hesitate to act. I mean, particularly even knowing who the killer is, you would think there'd be some sort of hesitation, which I do find a little problematic, as we'll talk about when I get there. I wish they would have maybe given her and John a little bit more interaction at the end of the film to do a 360 back to the beginning to how she was friends with him. I mean, she was friends with him, and for there it would have been nice to have something, a moment between the two of them. What I want to, yeah, I asked if she was a college student or a high school student. It's because I'm hoping she's a college student, because her parents are leaving her home to go to Hawaii. They're leaving her for 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Did they say how many years had passed since
It was
the
10.
Great Well
It was
incident?
10. It was
10
10.
years,
So I'm
okay.
assuming she's a high school senior. The kids all act like they're in high school. I mean, they're doing the typical high school things. We see a scene of them, I think, in like a science class or something later. I'm assuming it's high school. And I'm like, God damn, like, what parents leave their child alone for 2 weeks? And I also want to say this whole sequence gives me Major Slumber Party Massacre vibes, as well as like when the parents leave and are leaving for the weekend. But yeah, they're leaving Gretchen alone. The mother has that sensible, Roger, that red traveling jumpsuit that she's wearing.
Oh, she's a Scarlet Woman. This gal, she struts onto the scene. Mary, she's a Scarlet Woman, and she's ready to go to the islands. And the father is, you could tell he must hate this woman. But she is a lot. She's another character, as I mentioned earlier, that really is such a unique, bold choice. The characters give me hints of like Sleepaway Camp. I feel like if they're trying to kind of lean into those caricature kind of moments, the ant, I feel in that might be kind of what they're trying to go for with having some of these weird little character pops. And it kind of works in its favor, because the mom comes back in later, and it's honestly, it's a moment that I was like, oh, okay, what the fuck? Didn't expect her, but it works for me. So I like those choices that they make here. You're right. When they do start to drift away from trying to be a Halloween, like complete just replica, is when it finds its strengths, because Halloween really did not have any characters in it at all that felt larger than life. Everyone felt so rooted in reality, and here that is not the case. There are a lot of caricatures here.
Oh, a lot. But the parents leave her. They leave her with Bud, the dog, who disappears. I'm assuming we are supposed to assume he got killed. I don't know. He disappears at some point in the film. We never see him again. They leave her. She goes back to bed. She gets that call. It's a prank phone call. Somebody hangs up on her. So apparently, Roger, John Radley has her phone number after all these years still. He calls her, hangs up. She gets another call right away, and she answers the phone. Who the hell is this? And it is probably your favorite character in the film, Roger, Casey.
Casey, like, she's fine. I mean, she's somewhat obnoxious. I don't have too many gripes with Casey. She is the typical best friend role. We've seen this character played so many times before. The characters, like, you're right. I wouldn't say any of the characters in the sense of the teens are memorable per se, but none of them are god awful. Like, none of these characters are horribly acted. None of these characters are horribly obnoxious. They're all just a kind of beige, but like, I don't mind Casey. I think even as the film goes on, even she has a few little funny moments that work for me too.
Yeah. So it's Casey saying, they're basically talking about Casey still coming over to spend the night with her, because so she doesn't have to be by herself. The guys are still coming over, but Gretchen makes it clear that they are not staying the night, because she doesn't want anything to do with that. Yeah, so that's that. And now we cut back to the sheriff, who is at a pond or a park waiting for the doctor to show up. And when the doctor does show up, it's the professor or doctor from the beginning. He shows him some ducks that have been apparently eaten, and the doctor can tell that that had to have been human by the bite patterns. And he makes the comment, walking from a sanitarium must have worked him up a mighty appetite. So now, not only is John Radley eating his mother, he's going to the pond and just grabbing ducks and just eating them raw, I guess.
Another missed opportunity. The footage of John Radley chasing the ducks and pursuing them and then grabbing them and eating them. Because this guy does not move fast. I don't think he could catch a duck. This duck must have already been injured. Maybe he found a wounded swan and ate it. But yeah, I mean, and it is. This is going to be the comment that comes up the most during this review, obviously. But like, this is extremely Halloween. This professor is so Dr. Loomis, even in the way like he starts to like drift off and starts talking to himself and gets very like manic about it, and like it is so clear that they're like, okay, we need you to watch this and we need you to give that performance. That's what we need, because he has the same like kind of manic tendencies, but it's never I mean, he doesn't obviously get the time that Loomis got to evolve and develop and really become a fleshed out character. And the way that they conclude this character, because he does represent some of the more interesting backstory for John, in the sense of like, what he knows about head trauma and how he understands these things. I do think that they kind of miss out on an opportunity to let him be a bigger playing factor for the second half of the film, because I think he could have brought a lot of value as Dr. Loomis does. And I think that they made some weird choices with this character as the movie progresses.
Yeah. I hate to jump ahead, but yeah, his demise especially had me scratching my head, because he's supposed to know how dangerous this guy is, and he does something really fucking stupid to cause his death. But we, again, don't want to jump ahead. Now we are at some random broad yelling at her son to take out the garbage. And this is, and he needs to fix the chainsaw so that the neighbor can use it. Now, this is Sam, who we find out is one of the kids from the beginning, as is Casey. And again, Casey and Gretchen are friends. So apparently, again, Gretchen has forgot all about the fact that these kids pushed John down the well, and she's friends with all of them, because Casey pulls up to Sam and she's like, "Oh, are you coming to school? Bring your notes, because I didn't get my science notes." And as she pulls away, Sam, he's all forlorn, Roger. He says, "All the chicks want me for is my notes." And then he proceeds to grab his crotch and says, "Well, they can note this." Who doesn't like a good crotch grab in the 80s? Those tight jeans
I'll take what
he's wearing.
I can get.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
The tight jeans.
Yeah.
He goes to get the trash, and we see inside the garage that there's a big figure in there playing with a vice, of all things. And Sam is being the dutiful son. He takes the garbage out. He goes to get the last bag of leaves, and it breaks. And he's all, "Oh my God, why do these fucking bags always break?" And he goes into the garage to look for a new bag. And I mean, I like that they move right along. They cut right to the act of everything, because John Radley wastes no time approaching this kid and bashing him in the head. Now the kid wakes up and he's in a vice. His head is in a vice, and he's tied to this workbench. This Sam kid immediately thinks that it is David, a friend, that's playing a prank on him. I am like, are you that fucking stupid, or do you have friends that are that violent that you think David's going to play a joke where he hits you in the head with a wrench and knocks you out and then puts your head in a vice? Because it's, "Oh, David, come on, David, let me out of here. I'm like, what? Why would you think it's your friend? What kind of fucking friends do you have? I guess friends that push a little boy down the well, apparently.
This kid can't fucking act whatsoever, and it does kind of drag this bit along. There's a cool moment as he's like walking back into the garage, and he's like looking around, and you can see he's being watched. Like, it does get kind of creepy for a moment, but as soon as he wakes up and he comes to and starts talking, it's like, oh God. So yeah, and he's just rattling off this dialogue, and it's like the way this all kind of unfolds, it's kind of clunky. I mean, it is kind of clunky. It's not awful. Like, it's not awful, but it just he's like hammered to death by Silhouette. I really was expecting something bigger after this setup, like to tie him down and everything. I thought he was, I don't know, gonna like chainsaw his head off or something.
Well,
but
yeah,
you
well,
don't really get a lot.
No, I think that could have used some smoother editing. And yeah, if they would have just told this Sam kid, or given him the dialogue he says is so fucking cringy as well. Like, again, pleading for your friend to let you go. Like, why would you think it's your friend in the first place? But then there's this whole moment where John is picking up various tools. He picks up a chainsaw. It won't start. He picks up a drill. It won't start. Sam the whole time is like screaming, "You better let me out of here, you motherfucker. I'm going to kick your ass when I get out of here." And of course, John's not answering him. And Sam says, "You don't talk much, do you?" "Oh, well, as a matter of fact, you don't talk at all." And then he obviously has this realization that it's John Radley, and he starts like screaming his fucking head off. And that's a huge leap to make. You know what I mean? For him to automatically think that this is John Radley, somebody that you hadn't really interacted with for 10 years, and all of a sudden you think that's who this is. Weird. But yeah, you get the death scene, which is basically a shadow of John bashing the handle of the vice with a hammer. And we do see the shadow of the brain pop out of the head, which I think is cool, but it's just a shadow.
Yeah. It is, you're right. It's the editing here. It's the editing. There's a lot of like fake out moments and everything. And the kid cannot fucking act, man. He can't. And it really does take the steam out of this moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's our first death scene from a character we didn't really know much about. There's two characters in this film that are solely on screen to die. So now we cut to an English class scene because every horror movie has to have an English classroom scene. This really, again, makes me think that these are high school girls because they're reading Hamlet. They go into this classroom and there's a character named David who is Casey's boyfriend, and he's doodling something, and the teacher notices it, and she walks over and she wants to see what he drew. So she takes the paper, and apparently he drew like a sexually explicit doodle of her, and she's like, "Oh, is this supposed to be me? What's that big thing between my legs supposed to be, David?" And he's all embarrassed, and the class is laughing. This teacher, I think she kind of takes it a little too far with like how she's reacting, because to me it comes off as a little flirty, like she's flattered. And then she has that comment where she says, "David, do you know what a sexually satisfied woman says?" He's like, "No, ma'am." And she's like, "I didn't think so."
She's having some bold dialogue with this student. Bold. Yeah, very much so. It's something that's definitely not explored enough, this relationship she has with her class, to be talking so casually with them. It's such like a little dramatic moment for this teacher who never comes into play again. Again, another character who I'm like, wow, they're sure giving her a beat. And then, yeah, you just never see this gal again.
Yeah, no, she's just enjoying the fact that one of her students drew her sexually, because I mean her tone and everything, it's just real odd. But then they proceed to read Hamlet, and Gretchen tells Casey, she's like, "I think I know she's gonna call on me. I know it." And of course the teacher calls on her and asks her what the passage means. It has something to do with is there anything worth dying for or killing for? What is our fate? You know? And after class, Casey and Gretchen walk home, and Gretchen has this conversation basically talking about how she sometimes senses things and knows things are going to happen before they do. Like she sensed the teacher was going to call on her, and this isn't the first time. So now we're introducing some like small, like psychic element to the film, because she mentions it again later, and there's little moments where the actress is directed to act like you can sense that somebody's watching you, you know, because she turns around, and it's just, again, something that's introduced that's not fully explored.
I get a feeling that there are elements of Halloween that make Halloween what it is, that they felt that they wanted to replicate, but they thought what was going to make them stand apart is they were going to explain why. Give all of these little trademark beats in Halloween that really don't have any further explanation or backstory. They're like, oh, okay, well, let's take that, but we're to give it a different motivation. Like this whole thing of her sensing things feels very much like whenever you get these moments with her, it feels like the moment of Laurie standing at the window looking outside and seeing him looking up through the curtains. And that was just like a happenstance. You know, that moment just happened naturally. But for them, they're like, oh, we're going to do something similar, but instead we're going to give it this alternate motivation. Like, you know, same with the fact that Michael Myers really apparently can't die. You know, first movie, second movie, he keeps getting shot, but it's not explained. In this, they go into the idea that he is immune to pain, and they touch on these other things. They feel like the need to give it an over explanation, which is part of the reason why Halloween worked so well, is because there's a lot of things it did not over explain. Here, the addition of her having psychic like tendencies is absolutely unnecessary. It goes nowhere. It comes up again later, and it feels equally as awkward as it does here. And it's like, it's not explored. I mean, like, if you're going to do that, give me a whole final showdown where she has psychic powers and she's throwing cars at him with her mind. Like, go all into it. I don't know. But if you don't have the means to like pull it off, or if you don't have the script to pull it off, don't even fucking bother. Like, what? That has no business even being part of the storyline. You know what I mean? So, weird choice. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's fucking dumb. Could have absolutely lived without this whole psychic subplot that goes nowhere.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's there.
it's there, and it's there. It's here as Casey drops her off at home because John is across the street watching her, and she senses it. Like, it's very blatant. They're instructing the actress, act like you're having a vision of someone watching you. Now stop and turn, and she does. And all of a sudden, she's knocked down by Bud, the dog, who apparently they just let wander around the neighborhood. So she finds some blood on the doorstep, and instead of being overly concerned about it, she thinks that Bud killed something. She's like, "Oh, what did you kill now?" Honey, I would be a little bit more, especially if you're supposed to be psychic. Like, come on. Come on. Yeah, she goes and she starts feeding him when all of a sudden her doorbell rings multiple times. She goes and answers it. It's Casey. Casey is like, "What took you so long?" She's like, "Oh, I was in the kitchen." And Casey immediately, Roger, takes a bite from the spoon, which is dog food, and spits it out. And it's real weird because did you notice like the time shift? Like, it jumps from day to night just like that. Like, there's no literally. I mean, it's not even a purposeful transition. It's just like they it's real weird. Like, you can tell because when she goes into the house to feed Bud, it is daytime, and then when the doorbell rings and she goes back outside, it's fucking pitch black out.
I did not catch that. I'm going to go back and watch that moment because I honestly didn't. But I'm confident that you're right. Is this, and remind me, just because it's all, this movie's a blur. Is this when she comes out in that fucking belt? Is she wearing the belt right now?
She's wearing the belt. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. So here's another thing I got to talk about it. They want fucking Gretchen to be Laurie Strode so bad that they even put her in an outfit for the midsection of the film that is extremely reminiscent of Laurie's like button up flare look. This is like the 90s version of it, which feels very much very Amy Grant. Feels very like it's just like it's a button up and a pair of fitted denim jeans, but with this whore belt that like has no business, in my opinion, being paired with this outfit. She's got this like she looks like she'd be wearing turquoise jewelry with this belt. Like, it is a belt that a woman would wear on a summer vacation in like Punta Cana. It's this big metal silver like Xena warrior princess belt. And I'm just like, girl, your stylist was on crack. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but between that and the shimmer frost lipstick and that platinum bleached hair, it's just such a bold look.
Yeah, no, she definitely has some interesting style, doesn't she? The outfits that she wears in this film, particularly for the climax, definitely gives me Slumber Party Massacre vibes. So the phone rings, and it's sassy Linda, who tells Gretchen she's going to be late because she can't get a hold of Tim, and she's going to go find Tim, and she screams at her mom. Her mom's like, "Get off the phone." She's like, "Mom, shut up." Just sassy. She goes out into her car, and Roger, she has the Annie death from Halloween. Although it's actually, it culminates in something a little bit different. He jumps up from the back of the seat as she's putting lipstick on in the rearview mirror. We see him pop up. He grabs her, and we do get a lot of really creative editing where it chops back and forth from the front view to the back view. But instead of slicing her neck, he literally just snaps her neck, and she falls over dead. Linda has been on screen for literally 30 seconds.
Questions. First of all, how did he even know where to find this girl? Like, I mean, Linda, I don't know if, like, was Linda even part of the initial group? Wasn't it all
I thought
boys
it was just
pretty much?
there was one girl.
Right,
which
which I think would
is Casey.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, Linda, like, she's a very specific character for him to kill because she is. It just so happens that she's on the phone with Gretchen right before she goes out and dies. So, like, the chances of him knowing, like, even who this girl is and where to find her and then killing her in such a timely manner, it just, like, it does not make sense to me at all. Especially because she's never been seen before. It's not like she was seen hanging out or something like that. If you're going to rip it off of Linda from Halloween, same fucking name, then at least take the setup in which, like, he was tracking them for a while. You know, like, he specifically was watching all of these characters, so he identified who he wanted to kill. Here, it's just like there's nothing that connects Linda to John at all for him to even go to find her to kill her. It's just so specific, it does not make sense, and it's never really explored. Like, eventually, it's acknowledged that characters are missing, but it's not like people are like, "Oh, Linda, like, where's Linda?" Like, Linda's not really ever brought up again. It's just so weird choice.
Yeah. I was a little confused because when he kills Linda and we shift to her, I'm like, wait. There was only one girl at the beginning of the film. So who is she? Maybe he's just killing people associated with the people that bullied him. I don't know. Her death scene, I mean, it is literally Annie's death scene from Halloween. She's dead. We don't hear anything about her anymore. We don't even hear about Sam anymore. I mean, these characters die, and apparently nobody's looking for them. Now we go back to Gretchen's house, where now we are getting very much Slumber Party Massacre vibes. So I guess I didn't realize how much this film also took from Slumber Party Massacre, including a whole pizza setup. But the group is sitting around. Now you have Casey with David and Greg and Gretchen. Now these are the boys, obviously, that were on the bikes at the beginning of the film. They're all grown up, and let's say they're handsome. These are some handsome guys. So they're watching a movie, and they realize that they haven't got the pizza yet. And Gretchen says, "Well, I called 45 minutes ago," and David tells her to call again. So she calls, and she's all bitchy. It's like, "This is Gretchen. I ordered my pizza 45 minutes ago, and it's still not here."
To me, this whole bit could have been so much more, like, connected. Like, if they were really trying to, like, make a good script, I don't know, and who am I to make this comment, but, like, why wouldn't you have had them call Linda and be like, "Linda, pick up the pizza"? They don't say that to her, right? They're just like, "Come over." Like, I'd be like, "Linda, pick up the pizza," and then had Linda go and get the pizza, have him kill her there, go back with the pizza. Like, this could have been explained so much more thoroughly, but it's so, again, it's really sloppy how this all unfolds. So this pizza just shows up out of fucking nowhere. So I'm guessing he either killed the pizza man and we just never saw it, or he went to the pizza shop and somehow knew that they'd ordered a pizza. My question is, how does he even know of the pizza? How does he know about the pizza? And that's what I'm saying. Like, if Linda could have been used as a tool to connect the story, I think we could have solved some questions here, but instead they just choose for everything to just kind of happen. It's really weird. It's weird how this unfolds. The pizza ends up having sausage. If the pizza I got had what I did not want on it, I wouldn't eat the pizza. That's just who I am as a person. But they fucking scarf this shit down, and it is not sausage.
Well, they had this whole conversation about, "Oh, I think it's sausage. It doesn't taste like sausage, but it's good." Then don't fucking eat it, because it was just left on your porch. Like, that's the thing, is the doorbell rings and Gretchen opens the door and the pizza's just, there's like 2 pizza boxes just sitting there. And she's like, "This is weird. He doesn't even, how am I supposed to pay him?" And they're like, "Oh, well, maybe they're giving them to us for free because they were late." But then, yeah, they open the pizza and one of them, he's like, oh, I think it's Canadian bacon and sausage, and the other one's sausage. And she's like, a sausage? We didn't order any sausage. But they still eat it. And again, the one guy is eating and he's like, this doesn't taste like sausage, but it's good.
The specifics of the pizza are always going to haunt me because it makes me so mad that I don't know what happened. And literally, this is what had to happen, Troy, because the pizza, even for them to be convinced to eat the pizza, if I open up a box of pizza and there's just flesh on it that's not cooked into the pizza, I'm going to be like, I cannot eat this. So the whatever the fleshy substance was, it was clearly it had to be cooked into the pizza. So this, you're telling me that this motherfucker went to the pizza shop, killed the dog. I'm going to say he killed the dog. He took the dog, he cut it into pieces, he put it on the pizza, he cooked the pizza himself. This man knew how to make a pizza. He made the pizza and he then delivered the pizza cooked with flesh on it. Is that what happened, Troy? You got to tell me.
Roger, the pizza is it's the flesh of Linda and fucking Sam. You missed that whole part later on in the film where the sheriff takes the pizza and to have it examined, and the guy tells him that the meat on the pizza has consistencies with human flesh.
He does say that.
So put that in perspective. He got the pizza. I mean, the pizza was only 45 minutes late, okay? Or no, here's the thing, is they ordered the pizza 45 minutes ago. So it's been 45 minutes since the pizza was ordered. So let's say it took, the pizza 20 minutes to get to the house. John intercepts it by killing or whatever. So he has 20 minutes to take that two pizzas, go back to wherever these bodies were, fillet flesh off of them, put it on the pizza, put it in a pizza oven. Does he have a pizza oven where he's staying? I don't know, but he cooked.
And risk the pizza being overcooked as well is a problem too. But also, Troy, this begs the question, how did he know that they ordered pizza? Because at that time, between the time that she spoke to Linda on the phone and she received the pizza, that motherfucker was killing poor Linda. Poor day player Linda was getting killed in her car. So what I'm understanding is they ordered the pizza. Linda's getting killed. He, I guess, telepathically had to know that they ordered a pizza. He hunted down the pizza driver. He killed him. He took the pizzas. He then proceeded to take the pizzas back to his lair where he filleted the bodies. As you mentioned, he built a makeshift pizza oven. He proceeded to heat the pizzas just enough to cook the flesh into them, and then he delivered them within 45 minutes. This fucker's a pro. This guy has his shit under lock. The fact that he can pull this off in 45 minutes or less, Papa John's who? Little Caesars who?
They were delicious. They were fucking delicious because they devoured them. There's not a slice left.
Not a slice.
And when you find out that they basically ate their friends, it's
and it's never addressed. I mean, it's addressed, but like people actively are like, let's not tell them, which I think is for the best. But I mean, I'm pretty sure at the end of this, Gretchen does not know she ate a human. I'm convinced that she has no idea, and it's better. Let's leave it that way, at least for now.
Yeah, we don't want to traumatize her anymore. So they scarf down the pizza. Later that night, they're on the couch making out. Now, I will say, I do like the fact that this film does something surprising for the time, because this is the 80s when, teenage boys, let's face it, were very much characterized as being horny. Like they want the sex. Then they want it bad. Well, you get, these two making out, and actually, I think it's David who, I mean, he could get laid. But instead, Roger, he wants to go home and he wants to take Greg with him because they're going varmint hunting in the morning. So this motherfucker would rather go hunt varmint than fuck his girlfriend.
I don't even know what that fucking consists of, but it sounds very Brokeback Mountain to me. Very Brokeback Mountain. Yeah, definitely homosexuals. Though this makeout jamboree, who the fuck does that? Is that did you ever have friends that you're like, let's go make out with our
No,
significant others in the same
not in the
room
same
together?
room. No, I'm sure
No, like
people.
who the fuck does
No,
that?
it's weird, real odd. And David doesn't want to go. I don't know which one's David or which one's Greg. I'm going to be honest with you. I know their name's David or Greg. I don't know who's who because it doesn't fucking matter. One of them's David. One of them's Greg. One of them, he doesn't want to go. Casey's boyfriend, I think that's Dave, doesn't want to go. And Greg's like, no, dude, come on, you sex pot. Let's go. And then Casey becomes a whore. Did you see what she does? She's like, oh, I want you to stay. She grabs his hand, and this just grosses me out. I am not sticking someone's finger in my mouth, not knowing if they've washed their hands, they've been eating pizza, but she literally proceeds to do fellatio on his finger. She's like, it's too bad you gotta go.
So just listeners, just know if you're ever trying to get Troy to get hot and steamy, first make sure in front of him you very specifically wash your hands thoroughly, and then Troy will be enticed to perform fellatio on your fingers. If and only if you have thoroughly washed your hands. And I agree, that's disgusting. She's wanting it. And yeah, and these guys are like, okay, well, it's time to get going. And I just thought it was really weird how that they like handled these two characters. Neither of these guys are going to really, I mean, they're going to come back to die, but these characters really just don't fucking matter. They've got this whole makeout jamboree. They're making out. They leave. They're going to go hunting. Never fucking make it. And then it's just, I don't know. I feel like the story here was not really written in a lot of these characters' favor. They all feel very cardboard, which is kind of a bummer because you're right. Like either of these actors are bad looking. It's not like either of them are really bad. At first, at the beginning half of the movie, they start to develop a little bit in the classroom scenes and everything. And then they become like sacrificial lambs here in a little bit, which is just kind of, it's kind of disappointing. I don't know.
Yeah, but I will say, I really think it's an interesting choice to like let the characters leave. I can't think of another slasher film in this vein where you have that happen. Think about it. Most of the time, all of the deaths happen at the house where the people are at, and the other guests or the other characters are unaware that it's happening. I can't think of another slasher movie that lets the characters leave. Greg and Dave leave, and apparently. Roger John knows that Greg is going to leave. How? I don't know. He conveniently knows to be under Greg's bed at a certain time because Greg gets home and he takes his shirt off, which we don't get enough of that. And he looks lovingly at this picture of Gretchen in a swimsuit. And I swear to God, I thought we were going to get a scene of him start to jerk off to it. He does, and he just smiles at it and puts it back in the drawer. And he grabs his rifle next to his bed that he's going to take varmint hunting, and he aims it right at the camera and like looks right in the camera. He's like, dead meat. And then puts the rifle down and then does something unforgivable. This is unforgivable, Roger. I'm sorry. Who the fuck sleeps in their jeans?
Oh, I have the same fucking note. I was like, what monster directed this scene? And I bet the actor was even like, shouldn't I take off my jeans? But no. Keep them on. I'd be like, keep them on.
No.
What trash film am I making that you have me sleeping in my jeans? Let alone with that rifle to the side of his bed. It is a real weird bit. There's that whole shot of like the leg going under the bed. That was kind of cool, but yeah, again, and maybe this is kind of loosely tied into the whole psychic thing that she mentioned. Maybe John is kind of connected and he kind of knows what's going to happen. Because I really can't explain otherwise how he even knows where to be. How is he there? How is John in that house, unassumingly in that house, under that bed before that guy even gets back? It makes no fucking sense.
No, and does this kid live alone? I was wondering that too. Where's his parents? Because his death is actually pretty fucking loud. I would think somebody would hear it. But yeah, John just knows where to be. He's intercepting pizza men. He's under beds. He's on roofs, as we find out later. He's just everywhere. But yeah, I've not known one person in my entire life that sleeps in their jeans. That has to be fucking uncomfortable as fuck. But here he's sleeping in his, he pulls the covers, he acts like he's comfortable as fuck. Doesn't last long because he hears something under the bed. And he turns on the light and bends over, looks under the bed, pulls the sheet up, looks under the bed, and he is immediately grabbed by the face and violently pulled under the bed. And it is a really cool sequence. We get a lot of his body being pulled under. We see the hand grab his face and pull him under the bed. He's kicking and screaming. And all of a sudden, we hear that fucking gunshot. So somehow, John was able to position the gun under the bed, not a lot of space, and apparently shoot poor Greg in the head. And we get a shot of blood, his feet shaking and going still, and then a pool of blood coming out under the bed. I mean, I don't hate this death scene. You know me, I hate gunshot deaths in slasher movies. We've had this conversation before. I will say this one doesn't bother me. I think it's actually pretty effective, I will say.
I think that I agree to a certain extent. I think the problem is because every scene, every death, everything feels so separate from the rest of the film. Like nothing that happens ever comes back around with these characters. Like their demise, Linda, all these other characters. It's not like it's revisited and has impact on the story. And I think if it did, a lot of these scenes would actually be a lot more exceptional. But because they all feel so disjointed and not connected to the rest of the movie, it takes something away from it for me. Like every kill just feels like its own little moment, and then it goes back to the story, back home at the ranch, you know? And so that's something that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. As a setup overall, genes aside, like it is a cool visual. I love seeing people getting pulled in their beds. I think it's horrifying. I think the idea of someone being under the bed and yank you underneath and killing you is actually quite horrific and can make for a really good sequence. And even the incorporation of the gun, like I don't mind that, but like, yeah, how the fuck did he pull it off? What was the angle? That's very specific to have the guy pinned down and fire a fucking shotgun. Like again, dude's a pro. He must have 4 arms to pull this off. But my biggest issue is like those gunshots, like that's going to draw attention. So unless this guy lives on the outskirts of town, in a random hut or something where people wouldn't be hearing this, like if he's just in a suburban house, even if his parents are traveling or whatever it is, like the neighbors would hear it, like the cops would be called. This would be a to-do, and it doesn't come back up, and it would have to for me. And so that's why I think that this moment doesn't hit quite as hard as it could. But I do love the shots of the feet kicking and him struggling, and it feels violent. I do like that aspect about it. It just doesn't feel well thought out.
Yeah, it's definitely violent. I think maybe that's why I don't mind it, because it is very visceral and violent. Like when he's yanked under the bed, it is pretty fucking aggressive. And I like that. But yeah, the whole film, it is really weird how there's no connection. Maybe it's an editing issue. I don't know. But yeah, because the death scene seems so like separate from everything else. Back at the house, Gretchen and Casey watch a movie. Now you got to be self-aware. Keep in mind, this was before a lot of self-aware horror movies were out there, because Casey's making a comment about how stupid people are in horror movies. And she says something where she's like, oh, if you were being chased by a killer, why would you run to your neighbor's house? Which is funny because it foreshadows what Gretchen does at the end of the film. I did get a little kick out of that. Then they hear something and they see a shadow on the porch. So Casey's scared. So she grabs like that statue to protect herself, and Gretchen makes her put it back because she says, "My mom will kill us if you break that." They go out to the porch, Roger, and what do they find on the porch? Someone, I'm assuming, I don't know whose ear it is. We never know whose body parts are showing up, but it is a severed ear just laying on the porch.
Severed ear.
And
casual.
They think it's fake at first, but when they bend down to touch it, they do realize it's real. So her only option is to call the sheriff. And the sheriff shows up, and I love, he just walks up and he's like, "All right, what's all this I hear about an ear?" And he proceeds to bag the ear up. He's going to take it to the lab. He asks her if she has any friends that would play a trick on her. And she's like, "No, not like this." And then anything else weird happened. She tells him about the pizza. You can tell he's like, "You dumb fucking people. You actually ate a pizza. You actually ate this pizza without knowing what it was." He asks her for the pizza, the leftover pizza. So she gives him a pizza. The dog is also missing. She tells him about the dog missing. And he examines the pizza, Roger, because there is a piece left. He looks at it, and the first thing he says is, "That doesn't look like sausage." So everyone knows it's not sausage, but they still fucking ate it.
People's reactions to things in this film are not always appropriate, especially for these teens. Eating that pizza, a horrible idea. I mean, I just, regardless of whether it was human flesh or not, I'm just picky. I would be like, no, that's not what I ordered. I don't want that ham on my pizza. I'm not eating it. I would just be a bitch about it. Now they've got this mysterious ear, and everybody is just much too casual about this ear. And like, my biggest question is, well, if there is an ear, who's missing it? I think this should be a problem. I think this should be something that we are, whether it could be fake or not, this should be a priority. I, as the sheriff, JD Vance, should immediately be like, let's fucking get some cops over here and test these blood samples. Let's do more than just throw this in a plastic bag and casually, slowly write on it with marker and joke around with the girls. And, you know, it just feels so like laissez-faire, just so casual every day. It just doesn't make sense tonally. It doesn't feel like they captured the energy at all of how people would respond to such a thing.
Yeah, it is very, isn't it? It's so muted, their reaction. I would be freaking out. If I was the sheriff, I would be, yes, we need to find out whose ear this is. This is insane. But he's like, oh, I'll take it to the lab and I'll get back to you. Oh, by the way, did you know John Radley? And Gretchen's like, yeah, we used to kind of be friends. And she asks him why. And he's, oh, don't worry about it. I'll get back to you. Why would he brings John Radley up, but then he totally doesn't explain to her why he's asking, which I feel like if probably could have told her so she could be on guard a little bit, but whatever. Now we cut to Dave, who is at home with his parents, and his parents are at the dining room table, Roger, chowing down on that cake, watching some old cartoon that they think is the most hilarious thing they've ever seen. And you can tell he is just over it. And he's downstairs, he's getting some milk because he has a stomach ache. And his dad's like, oh, it's probably from too much booze. Why would you automatically assume that from your teenage son, that he's drank too much booze?
These two are just yucking it up. And I mean, they sure are selling that cake. And again, I really wish I knew more about these people, including their reactions to how they feel about the death of their child. But all we get is them in a moment of joy. And you know, good. Let's preserve a moment of joy for these two because they're having the time of their lives. Something really horrible and traumatic is about to happen to this couple. And let them eat cake. Let them eat cake, I say. And meanwhile, their 40-year-old son is walking around in that bright red robe. They love the color red here. People are dressing like whores in this film, wearing the color of sin, red. And he's in this bright red, erotic red, sensual red robe, walking around as his parents are just busting his balls. And so he goes up to his room and he's got a stomach ache. And it's clear, it's clear that he feels crappy because he ate human flesh. Like, that is what I'm gathering. Again, he never finds out that he ate a person, but he's not feeling good about it. And like, I will say, like, this whole setup here does make for one of the more entertaining sequences in the film. Like, this whole bit is elaborate. I mean, this killer, Johnny, is really knocking him out of the park every time. Like, he sets up the most elaborate scenarios to kill people, and they always work out. People just walk into his traps like mice. And so this poor guy is about to just somehow get hung from his bedroom window, and it's so elaborate, but John pulls it off somehow.
I mean, he's on their roof. He's climbed up onto their roof. First of all, let's acknowledge that. Second of all, he has to assume that this is going to work out just how he has it planned, because if Greg wouldn't have, or Dave wouldn't have looked out the window, this whole thing wouldn't have culminated how it does. But what ends up happening is he makes noise on the roof. So Dave goes over to the window, opens his bedroom window, and sticks his head out the window. I don't think I'd be doing that. I could just look out the window and see what's out there. He sticks his whole head out the window. Lo and behold, John Radley is standing on the roof above him with a noose and drops it down and is able to get it around his neck and literally yank him out of the window. And he is hanging and flailing. This is, I mean, hey, let's just talk about the execution of this. And I'm not talking about like how John planned the execution. I'm talking about from a filmmaking perspective. This looks pretty fucking good, I will say.
And as like absurd as it is, the shot of them completely missing the sun flailing behind them, it is actually a cool visual. And you see the whole bit of him like, struggling. And of course, finally his feet give out and he just dies. And then they're laughing their asses off, eating that fucking cake, having a ball, have no idea that their child is being hung outside their window. It's a fun sequence. It's one of my favorite kills in the film, I would say.
He's right behind them because they're sitting at the dining room table. The big old picture window is literally right behind them. And the whole time you see Dave hanging and struggling. And there's that moment where kind of like with Madman Mars did the same thing when he killed whatever that guy's name was, where he like lifts the rope for a second and then lets it go so that his body drops and it snaps his neck. We see that. But this whole time, his body is like swinging on this rope when he's dead, and the parents are just laughing. They're unaware. I wanted to see their reaction finding the body hanging behind them. We don't, but I would have really enjoyed to see them looking out the window, and there's your kid. It is the best death in the film by far. I think it's executed really well from a filmmaking perspective. It looks great. Just the idea of the parents being so oblivious to what's going on 2 feet behind them just adds an extra layer of like cruelty to the whole thing. I really like this death a lot.
Well, and there's even this moment, there's this shot, Troy, of when you see his legs drop and then he gets pulled back up and just as he does, you see the mother look over and it's timed so perfectly. She just misses it. But it really it plays with the moment a little bit. It is one of the cooler sequences in the film for sure. I would definitely agree. It probably is the strongest kill for me as well.
Yeah. Now, the next day we see a paper boy delivering the papers. And do you think John Radley, is this John Radley? Do you think he killed the real paper boy and this is him? Because otherwise, how did what happen if he wasn't able to get a hold of the papers to put it in there? It kind of looks like him. Like if you rewatch the film and see this person riding the bike, it kind of has the same frame as John Radley. So I'm wondering if he killed the real paper boy so he could get a hold of the newspaper to do what he needs to do to it. He is just this dude is just killing everybody. He's on top of his game. Let's give him credit.
You can't stop him. You cannot fucking stop John Radley. If that's him, if I go back and I watch that scene and that's him, I'm going to fucking shit myself. That would be the best development for me in this story. I really wish they did a recap of him, how he did what he did, like end of the movie, credits roll, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're seeing it from his perspective, how he killed everybody. How do you get on that roof? How do you know? How do you know about the pizza? Show me him killing the pizza delivery guy. All of that missed opportunity. But yeah, I mean, there's no way that this fucker could have gotten to this newspaper in time to put a fucking human nose in it.
No, because
somehow it's there
immediately when he throws it because she hears it. She goes out there, so there's no way he did. So I was wondering, did he kill the newspaper boy too? There's all these missing people. Then there's a missing 4 missing teenagers, a missing pizza delivery person, a missing newspaper. You don't hear about any of them. What you do see, Roger, now is Professor Paxton is his name. Finally got his name. It's here in my Paxton. That is the Sam Loomis character. His name's Paxton. He goes to oh my God. Can you believe how, I mean, this is ripped right from Halloween.
The gall that these people have, the gall.
The only difference is instead of an old decrepit, like drunk groundskeeper, you get this fucking weirdo.
You know what you fucking get, Troy, is you get the fucking hitchhiker from Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the groundskeeper scene from Halloween. That is exactly what you get here.
Yes, it is real weird. I think it also looked like the guy. I've never seen Troll 2, but I know there's like famous gifs from Troll 2 that show that, guy screaming, and it looks exactly like that guy too. So I don't know if it's him. But yeah, so basically a la Judith Meyer's grave, John Radley went to his mother's grave to dig her up. Now, what did he do? Did he eat her? Did he want to eat her some more? Because so the professor passes and goes and meets this mortician guy who we find out is an intern who is there working the cemetery as a mortician intern. Don't ask me. And he's fixing this grave because this grave has been vandalized. He hates worms. Every time he sees a worm, he smashes it. And he basically tells Paxton that he saw some guy in the cemetery that night digging it up and sleeping in it. I'm like, if you saw this man sleeping in a grave, why didn't you call the police? Like, that would have been my first thing. I would have been called the police. Can you get somebody to the cemetery? There's literally a man digging up a grave and he's sleeping in it now. So you should have plenty of time to get over here.
He's an easy catch. Like, this isn't the time. But yeah, no, this guy instead just goes off on like a wild monologue about his hatred for worms and his love for dead bodies. I mean, it's giving some severe necrophilia vibes, some of the things that he's saying. And yeah, he really, really wants to be the hitchhiker from Texas Chainsaw. Yeah. Like the way he's making his dialogue with the weird little pauses as he's talking about all the things he fantasizes about. It just feels so like straight out of Texas Chainsaw. So it's a weird tonal shift again, because the professor is as dry as they come. The professor is like not a caricature, but this guy, he's just so fucking just big. And as much of these smaller supporting characters are, these little cameos, they're just so exaggerated. And like, again, he's here for this moment. You never see this fucker again. He never comes back into play.
So the grave was vandalized. He smashed the tombstone. At least he didn't take the tombstone and put it on someone's bed. So Gretchen wakes up. She has the bat that rolls onto the floor and wakes her and Casey up. Casey wakes up with a tennis racket. So apparently they slept together with these weapons because they're so freaked out. They get up to make breakfast. Casey says she'll eat breakfast, just not sausage. From the kitchen window, she sees that Bud still has not eaten. His bowl is still full. So she goes outside because the newspaper is actually she sees the newspaper has been thrown to her lawn. She goes outside to get the newspaper. Inside, did you see how much sugar Casey is pouring on her cereal? She literally pours a whole box of sugar on the cereal.
When the diabetes is this girl doing? She's just pouring it, spooning it on there. Holy shit. And oh my God. I mean, like, I would never even add a spoonful of sugar to my cereal personally, let alone the amount of sugar this girl adds to this bowl. It is a problem. She's going to die young. Well, I mean, she dies in the movie, but if she didn't die the way she dies in the film, she would be dying from diabetes.
Oh, she's just, and it looks like it's Fruit Loops or something. So it's already coated in sugar.
Yes.
Good grief. So she goes inside with the newspaper, and Casey asks her if she should call her parents. And her response, Roger, keep in mind, this is a high school girl, right? Parents gone for 2 weeks. She says, no, because I don't even know how to get a hold of them. What? What parents leave their child for 2 weeks without a way to get a hold of them if something were to happen?
I don't understand the family structures that exist in this suburb. I mean, I get it's the suburbs. These things don't fucking happen here, but people clearly do not know how to handle any of their shit at all, including finding body parts on their doorstep. Because now you got an ear. Now these fuckers open up the newspaper and find a rubber prosthetic nose that's supposed to be a real nose. But I mean, it looks like someone took a mold of a nose and they put it into some fake blood. But, you know, it's one thing to get a fake ear or to get an ear and assume it to be fake. You know, it's probably fairly easy to replicate a fake ear. A nose, a full man's nose, like a grown nose. I'm sorry, if I see a nose, I'm going to know if that nose is a real nose or a fake nose. And I'm going to know about that because of things like cartilage. Like, it's just, a rubber nose is going to be very clearly fake and of a certain texture. And these fuckers are so chill about finding this nose. I mean, these girls, I feel like they've never seen life before. I feel like they've never left this neighborhood because they have no idea how to react. I find it really surprising too as the movie goes on. There's a couple times that you get Gretchen to scream, but there are so many moments here where girl does not audibly react in moments of sheer terror. And I'm like, how are you doing that? Like, how are you not just breaking the fuck down? She just remains calm and silent, finding corpses laying around and all this shit. And you never get a real big reaction out of her. And you know, this moment just feels like unnatural because the way they respond to this is just so, again, blah.
They just throw it onto the floor, and yeah, they act like it's really no big deal. We cut to share. I don't know. The film's not terribly long. I think this film is only like an hour and 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's not a long movie. I feel like this whole scene could have been cut. I don't know how you feel about this. Again, they added in because they feel like they have to replicate every scene from Halloween because this is basically Sam Loomis going to the Myers house and going inside of it. This is what we get here because Sheriff Chisholm goes to Radley's old childhood home. He goes inside. He's in it for quite a while. That's what I'm saying. I think this could have been cut. There's a little bit of comedic element here, but you could have cut this whole scene and it would not have changed the film. He does find a turtle shell in the closet. I'm wondering where that came from. Apparently he killed another turtle and put it in the closet to rot.
I think it was to remind us that he had those tendencies. But again, even that's like not necessary. Like he didn't have to have murderous tendencies before the head trauma. The head trauma is from the professor's spiel what gave him the murderous tendencies. So I don't know. It really isn't a necessary revelation to find this turtle shell, but I don't hate the moment. I think it's kind of cool that, you know, you see him going through the house. He's in it for what feels like years, but it is completely empty and it's creepy. The outcome too is kind of funny. It's kind of creepy for a moment when he's like, he finds this kid who's, I'm assuming, just jacking off to porn in this house. Okay, as you do. And then he takes the kid under his wing for a moment. He's like, you give me that porn and I won't, you know, get you in trouble. And it just feels kind of creepy for a second, but they play it off well. It's actually kind of funny. The kid ends up having this whole moment where he says his name is Ben Dover, and then he like runs off, and the sheriff is kind of a fool, so he totally misses it until it's too late. But overall, you're right. It's kind of bloated. And the problem is if they would have at least just brought the set piece back in, you know, bring us back here for the finale or do something with it. If you're going to bring it back up, like give me motivation. But it's not like the house is of importance. Yes, it was his childhood home, but we don't come back here again. It's not important to the storyline itself, and that's my problem.
Oh, it's this is the one thing. It's not like Halloween where the Myers house has some lore behind it with the town now. Like kids are scared of the Myers house; they don't want to go near it. It's a dare. Remember Lonnie? Lonnie, get your ass. Lonnie's dared to go. It's never mentioned that the Radley house is cursed or haunted. The sheriff shows up. We have this payoff with him talking real like weird to this little boy who's looking at porn up in the attic. There's that moment where he opens the Playgirl and he points to a picture. He's like, "Hey, what would your mom say about that? Give me your porn magazines and go jerk off to some real women," he says. And yeah, the little boy calls him a shithead under his breath, and he goes outside. He puts the porn into his trunk, and that's it. There's no pay. There's nothing that happens here, and this is long. This whole scene is long, and I guess if they would have cut it, the film would have only probably been like 70 minutes. I mean, but it's long with no payoff.
Yeah, it is. And you have a brief moment too where you see what obviously is John peeking through the window after the fact. So he was there the whole time, but fucking where? The guy walked literally the entire house and we had to watch it. I was really hoping when he opened that door, he would shoot that child. What if he just reacted and shot the kid? The kid just horribly bleeds out on the ground. That would have been the twist I would have needed to be like, okay. And now we're cooking with gas.
Well, also, let's be real. This town is painted as being very small. So you're trying to tell me that sheriff doesn't know who this kid is? Come on. So then the sheriff gets a call. As he's putting the porn into his trunk, he does get a call on the radio that basically tells him that he needs to get over to Gretchen's house because she found a nose. Again, so nonchalant. Like there's no urgency. She's just basically, she's telling him, hey, can you stop and pick up, a big gulp for me at 7-Eleven? She's like, yeah, Gretchen needs you to go back over to her house because she found a nose.
His response to Dispatcher Sally, who we never see, but she haunts my dreams. I love Dispatcher Sally. His response when she says, they found a nose. He says, a nose? Did they find anything else? And it's like, do they need to? Listen, like, I've seen real noses, I've seen fake noses, and I'm telling you, like, I mean, if that's apparently a real nose, I would think that is definitely a reason for concern. Again, an ear. If I lost a part of my ear, I could live. If I lost my nose, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. So someone is out there missing a nose, dead or otherwise. Like, this seems like a case for you, my friend. You're the sheriff. Like, go find the owner of that nose. And he is just so chill about it. And the girls are too. I mean, they're like creeped out, kind of grossed out by it, but I would be like up on the counter screaming. I'd be arming myself. I would have knives in hand.
I would be leaving the house. Why can't they go stay at Casey's house? I'm assuming Casey's parents are home. Why don't they go stay there? Because I'm sorry, a nose, an ear comes into your doorway. I'm not staying at that house anymore. I'm sure Casey's mother would understand and let Gretchen stay there. But the sheriff goes to the house. He gets the nose. And then why isn't the sheriff? Here's the thing. I think the sheriff damn well knows that this nose and ear is real. Like, he's not been in law enforcement and can't tell the difference between a real nose. He knows. He tells them to stay there tonight. Why isn't he taking these children and putting them up somewhere? Taking them to a hotel, taking them to his house, putting them up somewhere safe. Instead, he's like, oh, you girls stay here tonight. You'll be fine. I have a patrol car outside waiting for you. It's
oh boy.
Oh, we get
lucky them with the outcome of that. That really does a lot of good.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like another colorful character. Like, all of the secondary characters in this movie are so fucking weird. Are we supposed to assume this is all people in Oklahoma are this way? Because it sure seems like it with this film.
It's almost like a Fargo kind of situation in a way. It is, or like it feels like even in the darkest moments, they always like add this weird element of humor, which I don't totally hate. Like, I'm not slamming on it.
It gives the film its own charm. Okay. Because as you mentioned earlier, Halloween is very dry. There's not a lot of humorous elements to the original Halloween at all. This film actually plays up some of the humorous elements, and I think it's to its favor. It does give it surprisingly its own slight personality that I think plays well. So the Professor Paxton is with the sheriff later, who tells him the nose was real, the ear was real, the sausage on the pizza was human and it was cooked. I would be like, we should probably go get the girls, get them out of that house. No. Professor just makes a comment. Oh, he's out there then. He's waiting. The sheriff's like, waiting for what? To kill the rest of the kids. Sheriff is like, well, we need to find the bodies that these appendages came from. Professor says that he feels that John has some sort of connection to Gretchen because he's offering these body parts to her as a gift. So there must be some connection. So because he's showing some sympathy in a weird roundabout way by trying to give Gretchen gifts, he may be able to be reasoned with, he says. I don't know how you're going to reason with a man who cooks humans and puts it on pizza and eats his mother, but okay.
Well, I mean, all of that aside, the offerings he is giving to her are still human remains, and no matter how you shake it, Troy, that's not going to be like something that gives me like solace. It's not going to be like, oh, good. Oh, well, these offerings, these generous offerings are signs of peace. Not for the people who the nose and ear belong to. They really got the shit end of the stick with this one. But good for Gretchen, basking in the joy of her new gifts that she's been receiving. Obviously, he thinks this is some big revelation, and it's not, because this guy's about to go get killed. I mean, it doesn't go anywhere. So this whole thing about the gifts representing some sign of him being able to have rationale or be reasoned with, this proves nothing to me. You determining that these body parts are gifts for her maybe puts her in a position that she's not in danger. But for you, my friend, and everybody else, like the danger is still very much real, and you shouldn't be looking at this as an easy out where you can talk him out of what he's doing. No, he's killing people specifically to bestow these gifts to her, the limbs and the fingers. And because remember, the dog finds a finger earlier on too. That was another moment. And so, if these are gifts, it's still at the cost of fucking people's lives and limbs. So I don't know. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel like the big conclusion that seems like he thinks it is,
He also seems like he's sort of making excuses or like sympathizing with him, because he also says, well, it seems like what happened to him, there's a connection between that horrible thing that happened to him and what he's doing now. Well, it still doesn't justify the fact that he's making pizzas out of humans. I mean, and yeah, this for a professor and a doctor, this man is fucking stupid, because let's talk about this next step. He decides he's going to drive out to the well because he determines that the well must have some connection to what's going on, because that is where John experienced this traumatic event that turned him into a burn patient, apparently. So he goes to the well, he gets his flashlight, and he goes to the edge of the well, and he notices a horrible smell that makes him gag. And then he shines his light down the well, and he immediately exclaims, Jesus. So it's heavily insinuated, and we find out that after he is slicing and dicing the bodies for pizza toppings, he is taking them back to the well and dumping them in the well. Cool, I guess.
Show me what's in the well. Like, if you're going to have this be the big conclusion to where all these bodies are going, I mean, this seems like a ripe opportunity to have some big horrifying revelation, but you don't see any of it. You do get this cool moment though of the sheriff, who at this point he's been kind of a lump, but he is starting to win me over towards the end of the film. He kind of goes into badass mode, and I do like this whole moment of him in the car after he realizes what the smell is. And there's this really great droning synth track that finally doesn't sound straight out of Halloween. And it starts to actually kind of hit. Like, there's some ambiance here. There's some mood. There's just an unsettling energy to this whole bit of him sitting in the car in the darkness, talking with Sally and just kind of rambling through his dialogue. And he's actually kind of doing a good job with it. So again, I want to kind of give credit where I can here. I think he's actually pretty good in this moment.
Yeah, that comes after what happens to the professor, because right now the professor's at the well, and the professor's the one that notices the bodies at the bottom of the well. When the professor turns around, John is standing there, and he begins to like reason with John. He says he wants to help him. John, you need help, and John like reaches out his hand, and Professor is like, "What do you want, John? What do you want?" And he wants his flashlight. Roger, the professor gives him his flashlight. I'm not saying that John couldn't have killed him another way. He snapped poor Linda's neck. What I am saying is the professor just made it a whole hell of a lot easier for him to kill him.
I do not feel that this is the way that this character should have gone out. Like, and I had said this before, and I know I disclosed this early, but up to this point, this individual really seems to be kind of a vital factor to what's happening. He's really been explaining how this character operates, how he works. I mean, he's been the Dr. Loomis, and maybe that was them not wanting to blatantly rip off Halloween, so they're like, we're going to do something different. We're going to kill off the professor. But they kill him at a time when I feel like he's really starting to serve a purpose to the story. And the way he goes out here is just so lackluster. I mean, I don't even know exactly what happened. It looks like you give him the flashlight and he takes the flashlight, but does he stab him or does he beat him with the flashlight? I can't even really tell. It's like a shadowy silhouette of what happens.
He beats him to death with it in the midst of him telling John that he knows, I know you went to your mother's grave and visited her. I know you really cared for her and you loved her. It was just a blow to your head that made your thinking unclear. And he's just being all like making all these excuses and being saccharine and sweet to John. And John responds by literally, yeah, he beats him to death with the flashlight and then like throws him down the well. I mean, that's it.
Okay. I mean, like, yeah, another one bites the dust. This guy really, his head count is impressive. But now the last one standing, we're kind of entering the final showdown. We're in the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie at this point, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because we go back to Gretchen's house where the deputy Doofy, this fucking idiot, shows up at the door. And again, why is he is painted to be so bumbling, dumb, over the top? Like, it's just weird. And he's like, "Oh, I'm out in my car, girls. If you get in any trouble, I'll just be out in my car right across the street." And he's real, just weird and odd. And the girls are like, "Oh, that makes me feel." Where are they finding these people?
I gotta talk to you about this motherfucker. I'm sorry. There's one thing about this movie that pisses me off is this goddamn bumbling deputy. And what the fuck is wrong with Buddy? We're talking about head trauma. This guy, he's got that covered. I mean, this is what the face of meth looks like. This man is on meth. He is all over the place, and is he like having a seizure? He feels like he's in a totally different movie. I feel like it's this like local actor, the local character actor who really excels in the community theater performances, and they're like, give him a big role. The extraordinary Barry Brown plays this character of Buddy. He has one other film credit. It's called Lethal Justice. It's from 1991. We're fucking watching it because this guy is so over the top. I need to know like what else he did. The fact he has one other movie, I'm gonna watch it because honestly, like the first time I watched this movie, I was like, what the fuck? Who is this guy? Where did he come from? Why is he on crack? He's so riled up. He needs to tone it down.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm surprised. He has one more credit than most of the cast because most of this cast hasn't been in another fucking thing. But yeah, it's so jarring. It's so jarring. And it's almost so we got the caretaker who was fucking weird. Yeah, amp that up 20 times and you get this deputy. I mean, I don't understand. Like, especially here's the thing, especially during the climax of the movie, because we are hitting the stride of the movie, and it's becoming, there are some pretty suspenseful and horrific things going on, and then you get this character to kind of just like add some comedic element where it doesn't fit and really didn't belong. It was just an odd choice. And then the sheriff goes out to the well and he finds the professor's bloody shoe, and he shines his flashlight down in the well and he says, "God damn, boy's been busy." Then he radios Sally and tells Sally to send a car, a hearse, notify the morgue, get the fire boys because we're going to need their ropes and ladders. And he radios Deputy Buddy and tells Buddy, you better keep an eye on those girls. And Buddy's like, "Oh, Sheriff, I'm on those girls like skunk on a stink or stink on a skunk." That's what he said.
That's the moment I had mentioned earlier that I thought that the sheriff was actually pretty strong. It's that moment there where right before he pages in, and then all of a sudden you get that big fucking moment with Buddy again. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude, like chill the fuck out. We get it. You're in a movie. You're really fucking excited. Too much. But yeah, then you barely get anything with Buddy. There's one shot coming up here that I think is really cool where he's right afterwards, he completely blows off what the sheriff says. He goes back to his crossword puzzle. He's sitting in the car. Of course, he's leaning out in a fashion that nobody would actually be leaning out of a vehicle while they're relaxing. But then you do get like the figure of Johnny like appearing behind the vehicle, and it's just a well-framed shot. It's creepy. There's not a ton of really good moments in the film overall, but I really like how this was set up. Unfortunately, though, we start to hit a trend of a lot of kills that happen off camera now, and that is something that's kind of disappointing about the final stretch. Because there's several characters who you're like just kind of waiting to die. And I don't feel like anybody that dies at this point moving forward really gets like what's due to them.
Oh, I needed to see this fucker die. It is funny that he's leaning out the car, I'm assuming so he can get the light to see his crossword puzzle. And the clue he's stuck on, because he keeps saying he's like a five letter word for extinction. 5-letter word for extinction. What could that be, golly molly? What's a 5-letter word for extinction? I thought that was funny because I'm assuming it's death, right? And he gets, and then John appears behind him. We don't see it. Inside, okay. I get it, girl. I get it, Casey. I do. But this is supposed to be your best friend. Casey is about ready to leave Gretchen there by herself. There's no offer to take her with her. There's no offer of, you know what, Gretchen, we need to get out of here. Come to my house. You'll stay with me and my parents. I'm getting you out of here. Casey is going to leave Gretchen by herself.
I get it too, bitch. Like, I am right there with you. This girl, she seems like a bad omen. Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to be around this frail blonde, because all these limbs showing up, all these offerings, and I think Casey's starting to pick up on it. But okay, she's pretty quickly convinced to stick around. Unfortunately for her, I mean, it does not go in her favor.
Well, she has a psychic vision. This is another thing. Right at this moment, Gretchen's like, no, you can't leave me. Please stay with me because I have a feeling that something bad's going to happen. And all of a sudden the lights go out.
When you say psychic vision, though, like, let's be clear. Like, I mean, we're not talking that's so Raven, like, spinning around and zooming into her fucking iris. Like, we're talking her awkwardly sitting there as she's been doing the whole movie because she is kind of like looking at wallpaper. And then Gretchen suddenly has, I guess, a premonition. I suppose. And then she wails in her southern drawl and she's, there's something wrong here. And then the power goes out. And that's it. And again, that's not enough. If I was Casey, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Of course, I have a premonition too. People are missing in our neighborhood. You don't need to fucking tell me that you're having a psychic moment. I'm already scared, bitch. I'm right there with you. Something bad is definitely happening. There's a nose in the kitchen. There's a nose. So yes, I'm also apparently having psychic visions if that's what it takes. But yeah, and then the power goes out. They freak out, and fucking Gretchen, she's like, "You stay down here and watch the door." And like he's like, "Oh fuck off!" Like I should have fucking left. I should have left. If I would have just left and like gone with my gut and left, things would have gone better.
But in the midst of all this, guess who finally calls? Oh
my God.
The mother.
Mary.
From Hawaii. This bitch is living it up at fucking the Westin Waikiki as her daughter is getting fucking body parts. She calls. And what's Gretchen say? She's like, shit, get off the phone.
I love Gretchen's willingness to swear. Like that's one thing about her that really resonates with me. But I love the cut. Like she's like, well, my phone's working. Like every other phone, the power's out everywhere, but her phone's working. So she runs upstairs. She answers it. She's like, hello, someone there. And it's the mom who's like, oh, it's me. And like it's such an abrupt cut to her in this big, sensible hat. And having the time of her life, and it's like as quickly as she's there, she's gone. The phone call lasts like 10 seconds. Sensible Gretchen's like, get the fuck off the phone, bitch. And she like hangs up. And then the mom's like, oh, she hung up on me. And that's all we see of Mary. She's gone for the rest of the film. But at least Gretchen's like, now she's like, oh my God, my mom's a pain in the ass. She calls 911. And of course the phone goes out right away. Like the timing could not be worse for her.
Oh, and then she hears Casey scream. She lets Casey downstairs, who's downstairs with the fireplace poker. At least she's trying to arm herself. This bitch, she has to be regretting that she did not fucking leave.
I like that little moment with the fireplace poker, though. I thought that was kind of cool. Moody. It needed to happen. Some like stalking
she's like
footage before the kills happen.
She's creeping around with that fireplace poker. We hear Casey scream. Gretchen goes downstairs, and again, the house is dark. We're starting to get some nice tension, some nice atmosphere building. She goes through the house until she gets to the kitchen, and on the kitchen floor, Casey's body, decapitated, missing its head. When all of a sudden, I mean, out of the darkness, John comes walking, holding the head, trying to offer it to Gretchen. I really wish, we get some really over the top performances in this film, as we've talked about. And, I don't hate Gretchen either. I just feel like her reaction in these final moments of the film, because there's only about 3 minutes left of the film, they really needed to be amped up, like big
They
time,
did.
because she finds several bodies and her reaction is like, oh, oh, oh. And she run. I mean, you are seeing this hulking man carrying this head by the hair, offering it to you. And all she does is like, oh, oh, oh. And she takes off running out of the house.
It's more of a reaction of disgust, if anything. And it should be like sheer terror. But luckily, like there are elements about this final stretch that like do work for me, and I do want to like give some of the pros some acknowledgement here. First of all, like while the movie it's actually been like horribly shot, it has been like pretty like basic in the sense of like its framing. Like it's a lot of mids, a lot of wides. There's not been a lot of like really bold, tight shots throughout the course of the film. And then you have that whole moment when the phone goes dead, and all of a sudden you get this like, extreme tight on Gretchen's face looking around, like tears starting to roll down her cheeks. And this girl's really not an actress, but they are starting to push her to her limit with what she can pull off, I feel. But there's this like really intense close up on her face looking around, and it just felt like really not in a bad way, just kind of like, whoa, it like kind of threw me off because finally, like, you get like a real close up. You get like a real kind of artsy shot in a way. And then you've got that whole moment of her creeping out, calling Casey. And it really, it gave me shades of Black Christmas with Phil, you know, like, of course, this is a lot quicker. You know, they move through this a lot faster. They don't draw it out as much, but they are giving it a moment to be kind of unsettling, like, oh God, what happened to Casey? And then you get this unexpected kind of abrupt reveal of John. And like he's like looming over top the body. You see his shoulders. You haven't seen his face yet. And he stands up and he turns around and it reveals his face. And it's not totally clear, but you see his face. And I had seen like visuals and photos of this guy before, and it did look really comedic. But there's something about how this moment approaches him and the fact that he's not wearing a mask. You know, every other slasher, you've got a rubber mask, you got something going on, but this guy, you've just got this like dead-eyed stare. And to me, if I was going to encounter an escaped mental patient in my kitchen, I am sure that is what he would look like. Like, I am thoroughly convinced that that is what an escaped mental patient looks like. He's got these like just dead, soulless eyes. They're almost like reflecting the light like animal eyes. And it just like the shot just something about it is very unsettling. It feels like gritty and uncomfortable. And then that head reveal, even though it's completely silhouetted, it's also like kind of like cool artsy silhouetted shot. It looks really cool. And yeah, her reaction is understated, but you know, she turns around and she screams and she starts to run. And like finally, we start to get some action. Like there have not been any chase sequences. There have not been any pursuits. Everyone just they walk to their death. It's their demise and they don't know it until they're in the hands of the killer. Now, like we do get a bit of a chase scene and it's not epic, but it also is not nothing. She runs to her neighbor's house. You've got that great reveal of the neighbor with the throat cut, which actually looks really fucking cool. There's a few things that happen here. Her at the door, you know, like it's stupid. She's got to grab the key, but still they're drawing it out. They're letting it build. He's getting closer. He grabs her by the shoulder. And I just think that like the ending could have been way worse considering what's come before it. I kind of feel that in some ways the ending is the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I wish they would have spent a little bit more time. I wish they would have slowed it down
Yeah,
a little bit more because
for
it
sure.
happens so fast. I mean, this again,
Yeah.
from the moment she sees Casey's decapitated body on the floor to the end credits, I think it's probably like 2.5 minutes. That's how fast it goes. And there's a lot that
Yeah.
happens because she does run out. She finds Deputy Buddy dead with a knife impaled into his skull. She runs to the neighbor's house. The neighbor that we saw earlier waved to her, has her throat slit sitting on the couch. She runs, tries to get out the door. John does grab her. There's that moment when he grabs her at the door. She's able to get out, and then she's running through the yard. He gets out before her and grabs her and trips her, and she gets up. And she runs back to Deputy Buddy, and she gets his gun. And I mean, there's on one hand, kudos to this bitch for going into action and not even hesitating, because she literally shoots him. I mean, she tells him to stop. He doesn't stop. He's coming towards her holding that head, and she shoots him a couple times. However, my problem, well, because then, okay, so she shoots him, he falls, but then he gets right back up, and she tries to shoot him again. The gun is out of bullets. Conveniently, the sheriff pulls up right then and there, comes out with the shotgun. You get that really dramatic moment where she runs to the sheriff. He takes the shotgun. He sees John coming. He points the shotgun, and in slow motion, like uh, she's begging him. She's like, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. And he finally does. He shoots John a couple times. John falls to the ground, and there's that moment before he dies where he looks up at her, and we see this again. I don't know why they made him look like a burn victim, because that's exactly what he looks like. Because now we're seeing his face in full light, and the whole half of his face looks like it's burned. And he reaches towards Gretchen, and he says love. And yeah, the two embrace. The sheriff and Gretchen embrace. She's crying. You can really get a really cool, beautiful aerial shot that kind of circles up, and we see them hugging. The film ends. Okay, I rushed through that, but I really need this film. The way it started, again, it should have come 360. We needed something more between John and Gretchen. Absolutely.
Oh,
we
yeah.
needed that for a cohesive story. And
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. It does not happen.
No, and it's a bummer, because like what they give us out of the finale, like when I say it's in my opinion, one of the best parts of the film, it's that it's clear to me that they can execute an action sequence. It's not like they're just point and shooting, like I said earlier. It's not like they just put a camera there and they film a big long running shot. There is depth and texture and first person perspectives. When she finds the corpse and the head tumbles back to reveal the cut throat, she never fucking screams. Girl, I don't know how she fucking does it. She stays silent through the whole thing. She's a goddamn trooper. But they start to get creative with really how they're approaching this whole final push through the last like 5 minutes or so of the film. And I would have loved to have seen more. I would have loved to have seen Casey get killed. I feel like I should have seen her die on camera at this point. If we're at the final act of the movie, we deserved one last big kill. Again, it feels extremely Halloween at certain points. Like, even though it's her with the gun, still seeing the visual of Johnny walking, getting shot in the torso and taking the bullets and then cocking his head. There's a very specific moment where he cocks his head just like Michael Myers, and it's so glaring. It's so obvious. He drops down to the ground. He sits back up in one single fluid motion. Very Michael Myers. But then it gets to that beat where she finds the sheriff and he's got that shotgun. And as awkward as it is, like this slow motion hits and the camera's all wobbly and she's like, kill him, kill him. But there's also something strangely, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but powerful about the moment. I mean, how they approach it, the silence, the music drops out, and all you hear are the gunshots. And they're very specific about how they like let this moment breathe. And you just see the visual of Gretchen standing there just sobbing. And again, this girl is not an actress, but like you just hear the muffled sobbing as tears are like rolling down her face. And you're okay, like she's like actually trying, she's really showing some emotion here within her abilities. But they let this like silent moment happen of the sheriff and Gretchen just standing there looking down at him as he looks up at her, and he has that stupid fucking line, love. But there's something there, like there, if he really loved her, because she's the only one that was ever kind to him. You're absolutely right. This ending could have used 5 more minutes of her coming to terms with what's happening, realizing that it's him, trying to talk him down before whatever happens, whatever transpires forces her to kill him. I mean, there was so much set up in the groundwork of this film that should have led to like a big connection between the two of them. And not just the opening sequence, but like even like the fact they brought her having psychic abilities into this, then do something with it. Like connect with him, have a moment where they connect or have a bond or something before hell breaks loose and he ends up obviously being shot down. It just was a missed opportunity. And it's really especially infuriating because, like I said, they set the groundwork for all these ideas that could have built into the finale and made it something even bigger and more specific, more special, less of a ripoff. Like, it does end feeling very Halloween. It feels very similar in the same energy, the same tone of Halloween, and I think that's probably what they wanted, but that didn't have to be the case because they had given us all these little breadcrumbs along the way to lead us to something that could have been a different experience, and I think it would have been all the more better for it, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you say. There is a little touch I did like, and again, I wish they would have played with a little bit more with him and Gretchen, but when he does lift his head up and say love, he has tears coming down his
Mhm.
eyes, which I thought was very poignant, and again, it would have just been something. I'm not saying there needed to be like, "Oh, lo," but even her, like, going over to him or something, and I get it. He just slaughtered her friends, but also, your friends are the reason why this guy is the way he is. Like, you were there when they pushed him down the well. That that's the catalyst for him having to be in a institution for 10 years. I'm sure she's well aware of that. So, like, there has to be
Right,
some part of her that understands that, and I'm not saying it has sympathy, but at
right.
least understands, like, her friends were the cause of this. The friends that she
Yeah.
later, has no issues with, as we find out, and she's fucking one of them. I mean, it's
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they were gonna go that route, then we did not need that beginning with her being nice to him.
Right.
That's
Right. Yeah. No, I think that if you were gonna lead into it with something that felt so specific, like the relationship between the two of them, the visual of them playing together alone before the other kids came around, her audibly defending him, then that's a trait that should have carried through specifically for Gretchen. Like, I do think that, like, Gretchen's writing, and again, this girl is not a masterclass actress, but, like, I don't think that they gave this girl anything to allow her character to be likable, and she really should have been. She should have been, like, she really should have been a character that maintained that big heart that I think was expressed at the start of the movie, and it feels almost like it's just two completely different characters, so I'm not sure, what was going on with that, but I do think, like, probably the biggest flaw here is overall, like, the script itself. The script is so concerned about being Halloween that they make choices to set themselves up so they can recreate these moments, and it's at the cost of the characters. So that's kind of a bummer. I do think the script here is the weakest element, but I mean, overall, like, I didn't hate this movie. Like, I actually enjoyed watching it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was charming. It's shocking how ballsy these fuckers were, totally ripping off Halloween. I'm curious, how did they avoid? There had to be like a potential for a lawsuit with some of these moments being just completely ripped off. I mean, unless they said it was a homage. I don't fucking know. Like, how do you dance around that?
And then, I mean, again, I mentioned it earlier, but I mean, we haven't really hammered how much the score sounds like
Mhm.
Halloween. I think we
Oh, yeah.
glossed over that, but that you're gonna notice it immediately. I mean, the same note progressions and everything. The score is Halloween, and
Yeah.
again, it's puzzling how it was never called out, or John Carpenter didn't. Maybe he just didn't get care. I don't know. He probably
Yeah.
figured it was a film nobody was ever going to see. But I do feel like this film, while it's not, one of the better known slashers of the 80s, I think it has a little bit of a cult following, enough to get like a Blu-ray release and everything. So,
Right.
but there's not a lot out there on this film. Like, you can't find a lot of trivia or background. It's just kind of one of those little regional horror films that, for me, it's charming. Like, I don't hate this film at all. I actually think it's quite enjoyable, minus, if you can get past how much of a ripoff it is. There are things about this film that are enjoyable, that are creepy. The
Mhm.
setups for some of the deaths are very creative and executed extremely well. And there are little moments towards the finale that I think are genuinely creepy. I think the killer, John Radley, despite not making sense why he looks the way he does and acts the way he does, is quite intimidating. So I do say, especially for a late an entry into the slasher 80s slasher genre, I think it's pretty entertaining. I don't mind this film at all, and I'm glad I got to introduce you to it, and hopefully some of our listeners.
Yeah, you know me. You know me. I'm always a fan of you busting out some rare hidden gems, and nobody knows them better than Troy. So when you pull out one I've never heard of, I know that chances are I'm going to have a good time. Whether I like it or not is a different story, but chances are I'm going to have a good time. And this is one that I will say I definitely had a good time. I appreciate you bringing it into my stratosphere.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm aching to know, and I'm sure our listeners are aching to know what you're going to bring into our stratosphere next week.
So I don't know how you feel about this, and I really want to know if you're down for it. But we don't really do a lot of foreign cinema here, but I think this is one that you'll be able to get down to. And I haven't even set you up for this, but how do you feel about covering the 1989 The Church?
Church, okay. I don't know if I've seen that one.
You don't know anything about The Church?
I've heard of it. I honestly don't think I've seen it. And I'm not. Hey, I have some foreign horror on my list that we will cover. So I'm all for foreign horror. And you are right. We need to show foreign horror a lot more attention, because there are some great foreign horror films. So I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah, let's fucking do it. You know what? I'm gonna say this. I haven't seen it either, but I've always been really drawn to the visuals, and I just was like, let's do something totally different. So yeah, it's shockingly though it's the same year. It is 1989. But this is definitely more fantastical. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's bust out something a little different. We'll do The Church. 1989's The Church.
Okay, I'm down for it. I haven't seen it. Again, I love being introduced to films I haven't seen, and that is one of the great things about doing this podcast with you, is that we introduce each other to all these films we have not seen before. So I am down for The Church, guys. If you've seen The Church, are you excited to hear us discuss it? And also, if Offerings was a first watch for you, let us know your thoughts. What are some of your favorite parts of the film?
Tell us, please. We're yearning for it.
We are. But with that, Roger has taken us to church next week. Take me to church.
Oh my God. The musical numbers. Get ready. I mean, that's what you guys fucking come from. So there's a lot of church-based musical numbers for us. Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Absolutely, guys. Look, again, thank you for tuning in. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Dark Night of the Podcast to support, or give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. We would love that.
We'd be thrilled. Thank you.
With that, good night.
Good night. Good night.